You know the roller coaster ride of emotions that K-dramas tend to bring us on? Well, turns out it's not limited to the screens because we are also seeing the same kind of drama happening in the South Korean stock market too. In fact, the KOSPI has been so unstable in recent months that it even inspired Netflix shows and YouTube series. But those have an ending. Will the volatile South Korean stocks share the same fate? Welcome back to the Money Talks podcast. I'm Andrea Heng. Now, just to give you a bit of historical context, back in June this year, South Korea's KOSPI breached the 9,000 point mark for the first time ever. Then soon after, it corrected sharply, losing 22% by the end of July. Now, this roller coaster ride was triggered by announcements of AI mega projects and a bunch of market reforms. So what does this mean if you are someone who's been tracking the South Korean stock market and also the broader AI landscape? We are going to ask Christy Tan, global investment strategist with Franklin Templeton Institute, who's been watching South Korean markets for over a decade now and also watches quite a bunch of K-dramas as well. We want to welcome her to Money Talks now. Welcome to the hot seat, Christy.
Thank you for having me.
So here's the thing. If I am watching or have been watching this epic ride of emotions on the South Korean stock market, why should I be worried? What should I be worried about in the KOSPI?
Well, there are a few things to be concerned about. And at the same time, I think I would like to also qualify that it is not all doom and gloom, okay? Because even after that dramatic rise and fall, and we like to highlight that this is a fall from strength. Not necessarily a recession case in Korea. Fundamentally, Korea still has strength. But of course, what triggered the recent, I think, malaise in the KOSPI is that this is an AI valuation shock. And it's hitting one of the world's most concentrated AI supply chain markets.
Yeah.
And you have the amplification of leverage and retail investors that are shifting their positioning on a daily basis. So all that adds up to some of the concerns that we have currently with the KOSPI market.
Okay, so it feels like a bit of a timing situation. Now, trading in the KOSPI was halted 4 times, I believe, in the month of July. And this is a rarely used lever, if I'm reading this correctly. And there were also some other measures to sort of calm the markets when this volatility was happening in South Korea. Here's the thing I want to know. What exactly triggers a circuit breaker in a stock exchange?
I think firstly it's not just the extent of the fall. Of course, that's one. So the extent of the fall has to be really excessive.
Okay.
And this could range from 5% within an hour, for example, or just at the open, you start to see the plunging and the massive sell-off of momentum. And the second thing is as well, it is the volatility. So we've seen KOSPI's volatility index actually gone up significantly, and it stays elevated. So that draws a lot of concern. There's a lot of volatility that are exacerbated, and we don't think that, I think the regulators are rightly concerned. And it was triggered by the leverage ETF situation, which basically, if you buy into a leverage ETF, when the index starts to come off, that will trigger margins, that will trigger, I think, the momentum sell-off that is double the speed and the volume as it is. So as it is a non-leveraged position. So I think that was one of the key reasons as well that regulators are very concerned about, and that also led to the trigger of the circuit breakers for numerous times this year.
Okay, so from what I understand, President Lee Jae-myung's announcements on these AI super projects, some other market reforms as well, were these the sole driver of the volatility that we saw in the KOSPI?
It is one, but not the main.
Okay.
And I think part of the reason is that, well, this is a KOSPI or Korean-centric issue where you have Korea at the forefront of this memory and high bandwidth memory industry with two particular names that are at the left, right, center of it. And that leads to concentration. So as you mentioned, 2/3 of the market's capitalizations are just within these two companies. And of course, then we also have the problems where some valuations, especially in the U.S. stock markets, are very, very, I think, over the top.
So the two names that you were alluding to earlier is Samsung and SK Hynix. It's all over the news. Just to give some context to our listeners and viewers, Samsung and SK Hynix, they supply the memory chips required for the new generation of AI systems. Now, the AI boom sent their prices up fast, that they now make up over, like you said, over 50% of the KOSPI, right? So when a country makes such huge bets on AI, where are the vulnerabilities? Because I can't imagine what it must be like when your entire index is almost beholden to two companies with such a large market cap.
If you look at Samsung and SK Hynix, say 5 years ago, they do not occupy the same kind of capitalization or market share.
Exactly. I mean, just before this announcement, they were only at 24%.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think this is a case where the market's rotating. The environment's rotating as well. And we see that, some are looking at this like, is this the tech bubble of 2000?
Yeah.
Right? So I would say that it is quite different.
Okay.
And again, I would highlight, the earnings capabilities. So if Samsung and Hynix do have these earnings capabilities, and I think, relative to the US, some of the US AI and tech shares, actually Samsung and Hynix, earnings per share or the way we value these share prices are not overly high.
But from what I understand also, the KOSPI is actually no stranger to volatility. You've mentioned that they've pulled levers and triggers and circuit breakers in the past. So what was different about this one that drew so many FOMO investors to the AI betting game, to the AI frenzy? I mean, is it just because of AI, or did they really finally see that there was a bigger piece of the pie to be had?
I think at the start of post-COVID investments, when a lot of the stock market uncertainty were around how is AI going to develop, and when suddenly, the overall AI ecosystem flourished from either chips or memories, semiconductors, and even to the raw materials of rare earths. We do see that investors found that they have not yet been able to participate. So when companies became so huge and share prices became so elevated, I think that's when the realization that this is real and whether or not it is now too expensive to get in. But if you don't get in, then you'll be missing out a lot, right?
Yeah.
So I think that drives a lot of the investment sentiment recently. That so much so that you really wonder whether are these validating the company's strength and fundamentals.
Right. So it's a lot built on sentiment, on literal fear of missing out, of having missed out before.
Yes.
And now they just want to ride on it because everyone else is on it. I must benefit from it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the piling up of this buying into either KOSPI or the AI tech stocks were done in a very, very significant way very quickly.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Nearly every ETF today, whether it's in APAC, whether it's in the KOSPI or in the S&P 500 in the US, you can't find an ETF that has no AI related stock in it, right? Because even your traditional companies are involved or rolling out some kind of AI across the board. So for investors who are holding broad ETFs in their portfolio, what should we think about doing differently to safeguard our investments and perhaps help us sleep better at night?
You ask very pointed and challenging questions, and I appreciate that. I think when investors buy ETF, the idea really is to let the index do the talking. And I think the idea really here is what is important is that if you want to participate in AI and tech, which is I think everyone should, but not make it the only sector. So I think investors currently are looking at recalibrating your exposure.
Okay.
So if you're investing in, say, Asia Pacific ETF, most likely this is going to be quite concentrated in AI because Taiwan is the biggest emerging markets. And then if you're investing into just tech ETF, then that is definitely higher exposure.
Okay.
But if you're investing in, say, a global ETF, that actually has a relatively lower concentration,
Right.
Or weights.
And therefore lower risk.
Exactly. So you're more diversified.
Yeah.
So I think the idea here is how do we build a resilient portfolio? And this is something which I definitely am very focused on, is to I'll put an analogy across.
Sure.
I mean, you drive a super fast car, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour very quickly, right? But the question really is, when the car needs to go from 100 to 0, are you protected from whiplash? So how do you build a portfolio that is resilient? So one is, of course, assess your concentration.
Yep.
So have a more diversified type of ETF exposure or investing. And the other thing is really when you see concentration. So this has to be, even though it's ETF, somehow we have to actively manage it.
Yeah.
So when you see concentration rising, you've got to rebalance.
Right. Yeah.
So you've got to have the discipline to do that.
And that's going to keep happening because of what's happening today, right? The AI concentration, even national narratives and policies involving AI. So that recalibration has to be quite active because of the rate of change that's happening today, right?
Absolutely.
So earlier in the conversation, you had a bit of a caveat about the South Korean stock market, that there are other areas where the South Korean economy is chugging along fine. This is not the panic button that we should be pressing. So can you tell me more about those sectors? Where are they and how are they doing outside of AI?
So Korea is very export-oriented economy. And of course, tech and AI is a big part of that. But the overall economy is really doing quite well.
Okay.
And I think we look at the latest exports numbers, they're really pretty good. I think, in the range of 40-50%
Wow.
year-on-year
What are
rise.
their primary exports, by the way?
Of course, it is definitely tech and AI.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think you're looking at some other sectors that we are very familiar with as well. And these are also a part of Korea exports, which is the K-drama exports,
Yeah.
K-travel services exports.
The Korean soft power.
Soft power, yes. So I think these do come into play. And I would like to mention as well a paper that I recently wrote. I call it A Tale of the Peacock and the Horangi.
Okay.
So the peacock trade is very visible. This is AI. This
Right.
is tech. And
It's very showy,
it's
just
very
like the peacock.
showy. It's
Yeah.
very big. Yeah. And very transparent. But the Horangi are the tigers in Korea.
okay.
And, so I think we need to identify where are these sleeping tigers. I would say it could be in defense. Because Korea defense, I think we are aware of how geopolitics is
Yes.
very, very, I think, uncertain now in this current environment. And Korea is actually very strong in defense infrastructure building.
Okay.
And I think it has certain competitive advantage, which a lot of investors can definitely try to identify. And I call them, the sleeping tigers.
Oh, interesting. Okay. The horangi, is that what it's called? Horangi. Very interesting. I learned a new word today. Okay, so I want to now talk about the impact of all of this on the Korean currency. I read that there's been a temporary decoupling right now between stock prices and currency strength. And therefore, there is going to be or has been some impact on the broader Korean economy. Can you explain the link here, first of all, between stock prices and the currency and why we should be worried, if at all?
I don't think we should be worried too much.
Okay.
In fact, there has been the recent divergence, which I think it brings the question as to if the stock market is doing well, why is the Korean won continually weakening?
Yes.
So we need to look beyond some of these, I think, financial markets reasons, but it could well be concerns with regards to what's happening in U.S. and Iran, what's happening with regards to Russia, Ukraine that's been ongoing, what's happening with oil prices, because Korea is a major importer of energy.
Yeah.
And so that has led to essentially some of this won weakness. And I would add that even though Korea exports, a lot of products, they do not necessarily get translated into won strength.
Okay.
And mainly because, some of these flows may not come back immediately.
Right. So there might be a delayed transaction.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that also led to some won weakness that is not exactly related to the stock market.
Okay.
So I think the Korean won has its weaknesses, which I think we were looking forward to some kind of a stabilization going forward, because fundamentally, things are not looking that dire in Korea.
Okay. So how long would it typically take for currency levels to reach that desired stable level?
Well, timing is always I would call it $1 million question.
It's the crystal ball question.
It's a crystal ball question. And I think it's more like we're looking at it directionally, whether the Korean won will continue to weaken from here. We're looking at some signs of stabilization that is emerging. So either from the stock market, so volatility probably will have to come down.
I see.
And if all these leverage ETFs or foreign investors starts to feel a little bit more confident about getting into the Korean stock market again, that will mean that the stabilization of the Korean won will start to manifest.
Okay. Then the other $1 million question that I have is, should I start thinking about a holiday in South Korea now? Because I do love my K-beauty.
It is definitely an opportunity. And I think if we look at, the Sing dollar has been strengthening. So we're in a very good position to spend our money overseas. And I think another way to look at it as well is that what's stopping you? What's the deterrent here is not the stock market, because the stock market doesn't define how much a procedure will cost in Gangnam or how much hotels, in Seoul will be costing you. So the Korean won is at an attractive level for travelers, for spenders. And the Sing dollar as well has been on quite a strengthening path.
Yeah.
And the weather is getting better.
Yeah, the weather is getting better. Hopefully, it will be the right time as well for us to start booking our flights. I know that parents are already thinking ahead, so this might be an inspiration for them. So just going back to the KOSPI now, right? What is going to be the surest sign that the KOSPI is stabilizing or has stabilized?
I think there are some signs that we are looking out for, and so the volatility coming off is still quite elevated at this point in time, maybe from 50 coming up to 30.
Yep.
And the other thing as well is that leverage trade ETFs now is more regulated.
Okay.
So I think the volume is going to be at a more healthy level. And so that will be a sign of stabilization as well. We're looking at potentially investors starting to think about, valuations getting more attractive again in Korea, outside of the US. And I think Korea as well has been making, the policymakers, they have been making the right noises. They're talking about physical AI now. So into robotics.
Tangible AI.
Tangible AI. So not just something that is about memory or chips. And so I think those are signs of stabilization that we either will see soon or we are already starting to see.
Okay. Should investors then go all in when the KOSPI rallies again or comes back to a reasonable, stable level?
Well, the old saying, never put your eggs in one basket or in one basket, Korean won basket in this
nice
case.
one.
And so I think it is always good to have a resilient portfolio rather than one that gives you massive upside and also, will suffer during drawdowns because there will be drawdowns and there will be volatility. And so that requires us to actually be disciplined about diversification.
Yeah,
So 2 Ds there.
Yeah, plus don't forget to recalibrate, like you said,
Absolutely.
as and when things happen. Thanks for walking us through this, Christy. I actually understand things a lot better now, and
My
I hope our
pleasure.
listeners do too. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And to our Money Talks community, I implore you to answer me this. With the KOSPI swinging wildly on AI hype, what is your play right now? Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Or have you cashed out? I'll be waiting for your answers in the comments section on whichever platform you are listening to us from. You can also email us your answers at cnapodcasts@mediacorp.com.sg. This has been the Money Talks podcast with me, Andrea Heng.